everyone! In today's video, we're going to talk about the ways we can voice a triad. As we've discussed before, we have some options when it comes to voicing a triad. Remember, when I say voicing, what I mean is what pitches of the triad are where, which pitches are duplicated, and how far apart is each pitch from one another within the chord. To that last point, let's talk about close versus open voicing. Close voicing means that we have less than an octave between the soprano and tenor voices. Another way to think of this is think of the distance between the soprano and the tenor. If you're less than an octave, you have what we call close voicing. This is shown in the first chord here. Our soprano, F4, and our tenor, A3, are within an octave of one another. So this triad is using a close or closed voicing. To the right, you see an example of open voicing. Open voicing is when we have an octave or greater between the soprano and tenor voices. In this example, we have F5 in the soprano voice and C4 in the tenor voice. That's more than an octave apart, so this triad is voiced using an open voicing. In addition to close or open voicing, we have a couple more guidelines we need to know about. In this style of music, you should never have more than an octave between any of the upper three voices. Whereas when we're talking about close versus open voicing, we're measuring from the soprano to the tenor voice. For this guideline, however, we're talking about the distance between any voice to any other. So from the soprano to the alto, or the alto to the tenor. The bass voice can be more than an octave away from the tenor. Here I've shown a few examples. The chord on the left, we have an F major triad. Notice that the soprano voice is more than an octave away from the alto voice. In this style of part writing, this is not allowed. We have a similar issue between the alto and the tenor voice in the second triad here. Between the alto and the tenor, we have a distance greater than an octave. Again, this is not allowed in this style of part writing. In the third chord from the left, we have two problems. More than an octave between the soprano and the alto, and more than an octave again between the alto and the tenor. Again, this is not permissible in this style of part writing. The last triad is voiced correctly. We have the right amount of distance between each voice, or less than an octave. We have one more guideline we need to know about when it comes to voicing individual triads. Whenever we are moving from one chord to the next, each voice should stay in its respective lane, meaning they should not cross. Here I've shown an example of what is not acceptable in the first two measures, and the corrected version in measures 3 and 4. Pay attention to the alto and soprano voice in measure 1, the tenor and bass voice in measure 2, and then the corrected version of both in measures 3 and 4. In context, you may sometimes see the tenor and the alto voice cross, but it's pretty rare, and for the exercises we're doing in this class, I would recommend you never cross the voices. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you next time.